Good morning everyone. In this video I want to talk about the US election and the outcome that Donald Trump is very likely to be the next US president. And I'm going to read through my X post that I made this morning, a quick take on this matter, because it pretty much sums up my opinion. Now, first of all, I talked about this in previous videos. My personal expectations was that Trump is going to win. I wasn't sure about that because I'm also in a kind of a bubble here on X, right? But appears that not only myself, but also others were anticipating a win by Donald Trump, and it certainly came that way. Now, the market reaction is quite interesting. This one I did not expect. We see a spike in both USD and in US interest rates. And that's obviously also part of the reason why, for example, the Hang Seng index, like Chinese stocks, have sold off today. So I'm looking here at the US government 10-year bond yields. They're spiking up. So huge green candle here, 4.3%. That's enormous, and that's usually very bad for emerging market stocks, risk assets in general, but seemingly maybe this time not bad for US stocks. We'll see about that today. Similar for the US dollar, it's a huge move, 1.17% up. It actually began to roll over a little bit, but now breaking out here. But you know, I mean, it's technical analysis. You never know where things are going. However, it's now meeting this big downtrend resistance here. So in the past, it's been rejected here, 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 and we're going to see whether or not it's going to be rejected here as well. I have my own views here on the fundamentals, similarly to the interest rates. So they have been rejected here, here, and might get rejected here again. We'll see about that. Currently, again, this spike is not great for the stocks that we are investing in here with Chinese stocks. And why I'm saying this is a surprise, or I'm actually expecting the fundamentals to be different, is that Vance and Trump, so they have both talked about that they want to bring down interest rates and want to weaken the US dollar, because Trump wants to bring back manufacturing to the US, and that's not really possible with a very strong US dollar, because if the dollar is too strong, then the goods are too expensive and nobody is going to buy goods from the US. We've seen that. I can double check that here, with ChatGPT. Has Donald Trump and Vance talked about that they want to weaken the US dollars? Yes, they have done so. There are various resources where you can find, publications talking about that. New York Times here, I have no subscription, but other, publications out there. This is broadly in line with my personal expectations, what they are going to implement over time. Okay, once they are coming back in power, I think Trump and Vance will be going for a weaker dollar and want to bring back down interest rates. And notably, we've got Elon, playing a big role in this election, and he obviously also wants interest rates down because that's good for tech investment and also for his business about cars. Like, car loans are too high in Tesla's view. So this administration will certainly push for lower rates. So this is why I'm saying this market reaction might be maybe misleading in this first step, because actually the direction should instead be going down. I don't have the crystal ball. I don't know whether or not this resistance level here will hold or not. But in the short term, this is bad for Chinese stocks, as we see today with HSI down 2%. But also, I've been talking about what is it? EU, nice ticker. Mexico in my Patreon community, because Mexico might be a good substitute for Chinese imports in the end. It's also down 4.5% today based on this reaction. So it's not only Chinese stocks, but overall this US dollar strength is usually not great for overseas investments, whereas companies like Tesla obviously are rightly so benefiting from this move, because Elon Musk, he played a big role in this election. He, I think that's my personal interpretation, but he's been the kingmaker. He's seen stuff happening during the COVID times, during the pandemic, which he didn't like, which he thought is not in line with Western values. That's why he became such a strong supporter for freedom of speech and so on. You all know about how he bought X and how he became a Trump supporter. And I think actually what's been going on with the left and how they acted during the lockdowns has largely played the biggest role. And now, Elon Musk made a crazy bet on Trump and he won. And now he will get what he wants. He wants to build something like a free Western opposite option to what we see, for example, happening in China. So this I'm seeing just very realistically here. I know politics can always be a bit emotional and so on, and I always get also pushback when I talk about Trump and how I think that Trump might actually be in favor of the Chinese. But I just want to be very open and realistic about this, and I think that Elon Musk is profiting from this big time, and he is also not entirely the friend of China, in my opinion, because I think he's got a different value set that he wants to see established, and he wants to make the US and the West great again. So we'll see how that will play out for Elon Musk and his China activities overall. But speaking of China and this new administration, I mentioned that one before here on the channel. I think Trump will be seen as transactional, as a businessman, and so the Chinese will be trying to make deals with him. I think we've seen the statements by Trump that he will be open for Chinese manufacturing in the US. He doesn't want to see those jobs go to Mexico. He will talk about tariffs, but I think those tariffs might be implemented more gradually, meaning not suddenly, but maybe over time, because value chains, manufacturing and so on, it needs time to go to the US. And if that's the plan, we'll see how, I'm not judging how likely this is going to be succeeding or a success, but that's certainly the plan, right? That's what they are going to try and do. And so I think the Chinese will be willing to make deals on this basis. Maybe they don't go all in bringing manufacturing to the United States, because they know the supply chain in China is much better established, has much better unit economics and costs and so on. And on the other hand, I think they will be pleased to see that now it's not only this ideological battle that we've seen with the Biden-Harris administration, with democracy versus autocracy. Trump, while he doesn't like, adversaries or enemy countries per se, I think he will not engage in such ideological warfare, and that will be visible, in my opinion, in the case that he will bring an end to the war in the Ukraine. He's not going to longer support that. I don't know how the solution will look exactly, but I expect that this war, which sees no winners and is only a tragedy, will come to an end. I think who will lose by that is, the NATO manufacturers who are making bank by doing lots of weapons manufacturing and stuff. And it will put China in a better geopolitical situation, in my opinion, because they had this neutral stance and they acted pretty much like every other country out there, adhering to sanctions like bank sanctions and so on. But in the meantime, buying up Russian gas and oil at the cheap and selling it to the Europeans at a markup, stuff like that. So, we've got these discussions before that China is not really trying to hold back Russia in doing stuff over there and with the invasion and the aggressions. However, China is also in the views that they want to have the Ukraine as a business partner, and they reminded Putin during the BRICS summit, for example, that war and military actions cannot be a solution to that. Now, if that will become not an issue anymore with the Ukraine war, I think the Europeans may be warming up to China a little bit more again, because it's Europe is in this huge ideological battle, in my perception. And you can't say anything positive about China these days because it's seen as a partner of Russia in what they're doing although the facts are not exactly that. But once this war is over, and at the same time we'll see the Trump administration hitting against Europe just as they will be hitting against China, I'm expecting tariffs on German goods going into the US and so on. If that's going to happen, then Europe might find a new, stronger role again in the middle. Right now it's been very much schmoozing up with the Biden administration, and we are buying the really expensive LPG from the US and so on. And once we got Trump in place, and the Europeans don't generally like Trump, then we may reorient to the east again. And so I think that is how China may actually find some business again. With Europe, we see companies like Audi and BMW currently struggling a lot with their profits down. Lots of that has to do with the ongoing war, with their economies not great, with the Chinese profits missing and so on. And here China could come into play and become a partner again for Europe. And that's unlocked by Trump in a way. Then Bitcoin is another winner in my opinion. I think Trump, as he wants to weaken the dollar, might be advised by his economic advisors, which I consider Elon Musk, ARK Invest, Arthur Laffer, and so on. I talked about this here on the channel as playing influential roles, and they might be pushing Bitcoin as a new reserve currency that cannot be politically compromised. That's the merit of Bitcoin, and that's why it's spiking. And I think there might be some possibility that this will be a shift going forward. So besides Elon Musk and Tesla, the big winner is Bitcoin here. And now the question will be, how will China react? I think we're going to see maybe stimulus announcements by the end of the week. Now China needs to have a plan. Usually they've got a long-term plan. One thing that I would like to point out here is that, yes, today the winner is called Trump. However, who's really elected is Vance and the team Musk and Peter Thiel, which we have to say they're not per se friends of China, all of them. In fact, Thiel, I think, is very hawkish against China. I think Vance has also not been very friendly to China, but he's kind of a chameleon, in my opinion. So he's been against Trump in the past, and now he's becoming vice president under Trump, right? So this guy can change for anything. So if China comes out with a good deal, I think Vance can be, shifting into any direction. And for Musk, obviously, he's very vested and invested in China. So that's one hand. On the one hand, how he is like maybe an influential role in managing those US-China relations. However, I don't see that as a positive entirely. I think Elon Musk also is in the views that, he's a patriot. He wants to make the US great again, and he doesn't like what he sees in China in terms of free speech, censorship, about the importance of entrepreneurship in a country. I think he's got bearish views on demography overall. He's pointing that out, bringing this narrative up, which is mainly also a problem for China. He's also talking about the educational system in China and how he thinks that it's not good for innovation and creativity. And so I think he's more about establishing a counterpart to China, because on the one hand he depends on it, on the other hand now he's secured with this big bet on Trump that he will be influential in the Western world and in the US, where he possibly gets his rate cuts now, and maybe with some tariffs also a little bit of help against Chinese invasions of car companies, right? But in the end, I think for the EV companies, I know they're down big. This is the obvious trade, the mass market trade that people think now this is going to be bad for Chinese EV stocks. I don't think so. I think this will long-term actually rather open the way up for Chinese EV companies to be selling in the United States, but being also manufactured in the United States. We will see how this will play out in the end, but I don't think you should discount, for example, NIO Stock currently for any tariffs, right? There is no such upside priced into the stock anyways, so that might be just some short-term sentiment stuff. So overall, my take is, I don't think Trump is bad for China. I think there will be solutions, but now it depends a little bit on China, what they come up with. The US is in a very strong position. I don't understand really, or don't see those first moves, market reactions with USD spiking and yield spiking as the right direction. I think it should actually be the other way around. However, sometimes this takes a couple of days to play out, or sometimes the market can teach us different lessons. But my view is that this might be largely a positive, mainly on the geopolitics and how this may enable China to do some more stuff now with clarity when it comes to stimulus, geopolitics, and with the future also of Chinese manufacturing overseas. What do you think? Thanks for watching. See you in the comment section.